Hello and welcome to the Art of Making It Happen, where we take you from stuck to action with more fun and less self-doubt. And here I am today with Valerie DAmbrosio. Hi, Valerie.
Hi.
You have a beautiful scenery behind you.
Yes, it's lovely, right? Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
Woohoo, yeah, great. And I'm so excited to talk with you today because we're going to talk about bringing our past to the present and onto the future and how this just keeps us stuck in our track. But just right before that, I'm going to introduce you properly. So Valerie is the connection coach. She is a visionary, storyteller, certified yoga teacher, intuitive life coach, and fiery spirit who believes that we are all born for greatness. With over 20 years of experience as a teacher and a coach, she has an extraordinary gift in guiding groups through a soulful journey within themselves, where participants leave feeling inspired, connected, and ready to play big. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo! Great. So, we all have a story, we all have a past, and this is what we know, right? So I guess that it's normal that we just bring it to make the decisions in the present, but sometimes it's holding us back.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I see that a lot with my clients. And the thing that I recognize that it becomes such a habitual pattern to focus on what's happened in the past. And so, you hear a lot that living in the present and everything else and how that's so important, but it's important for us to recognize whatever energy that we're showing up with, meaning when I say energy, the thoughts we're thinking, the words that we're speaking, the action we're taking is actually creating our reality moment by moment. And so if we're bringing these things from our past into our now present, we're only going to generate and create more of it. And so especially if they are instilling certain feelings that what I call are catabolic, are lower, below the line energies, meaning like worry, fear, guilt, anxiety, shame, judgment, all these different things, we're just might be a different thing that we're creating, but it's going to be the same frequency that we're creating. So recognizing the power of that and how much that's going to influence our present is huge. Mm-hmm. The thing is that we're mostly on automatic pilot. Most of us in the world are talking about what's not working. We're almost taught to do that. In addition to that, if we've been walking through life thinking that that's the best we're going to get, or maybe it hurt us so badly and it really hits us in our heart, and we just kind of live from that unconscious expectation that more of the same is going to happen, we are ultimately generating that. And it's common. It's really, really common. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how can we actually, well, first of all, become aware of it? And second, how can we move past that so that we don't allow that to stop us?
Right. So I'll give you an example. I have a wonderful client who I love so much, and she went through a divorce recently, and it wasn't a good one. And she has children through it, and it's super challenging for her. And it was a fairly emotionally abusive relationship. And she was with him though for 20 years. So imagine for 20 years being with someone and having a certain toxicity within that relationship. That's all you know, especially considering that they got together when they were in their early 20s. Actually, they were dating, I think, even in high school. And so when you think about how much of your life you've been living in a certain vibration, it's easy to just show up and not know anything different. And so when we talk and we start to go to the place of, I'll be asking her about anything, she'll start to just spin and spiral into what maybe she had a conversation with him and how that sucked for her, or maybe what's happening with her. But we would try to talk about something different, and I would initiate something different, a different topic, a different pattern about what's happening now, and it was this habitual pattern to keep going to that same energy, that same person who physically isn't in her life except for them when they deal with the children. Yet she literally energetically takes that and takes him into her every day. And so I think the first question you asked, it was how do we become aware of it? And I mean, that's why I love being a coach, because I'm not enmeshed in someone else's life, right? I'm not emotionally involved. So I'm able to step back and to be able to see like, hey, this is where I see you are. this is what I see you want, and this is where I see you keep going. So let's start watching that. So having someone in your life that can, not shaming you, not judging you, but just reminding you, that kind of kind voice of compassion, a believing eye, someone that's a spiritual companion on your path, or maybe it is a coach or someone in your life like that, but just to really support you in saying, hey, that thing that you keep doing, that story that you keep going to, I just want you to know that it's happening right now. Okay. And so it's just that moment, that pause. We can start to become aware of it ourselves. And the way that we can become aware of ourselves is oftentimes, and this doesn't work for everyone, is our feelings. So if we're feeling catabolic, lower vibrational energy, it's in that moment pausing. And this is why it's an inside job to ask ourselves that question of, what am I thinking about right now? What story am I creating right now? Is there something I'm reliving right now? So we start to just become aware, and we start to ask ourselves questions. And then we can ask ourselves moving forward questions, what I call quality questions, like, what would it take for me to right now focus on what I really want? What would it take for me to know that I can empower myself right now in this moment to focus on what I really want? What would it take for me to feel the way I really want to feel? And oftentimes we don't even have to have the answer, but if we put out questions to the universe, which we usually do all day long, the universe wants to support us. So what it will do ultimately is it will give us evidence in the direction of what we're asking. So if we're asking certain questions like, why is this happening to me? Why does he keep doing this to me? Why does this, whatever. The universe is going to literally give you examples as to why that's happening. Will only give you more of what you don't want. So that moment of noticing how you feel, or maybe it's you're noticing a thought, and in that moment, asking yourself something different. What would it take for me to move my life in the direction that I do want, right? So does that help a little bit with that?
Yeah, and I really love how you say that we don't need to have the answers. Like, right. Just thinking about those questions is still a huge step forward, because, again, the universe is showing us, or our focus is right. somewhere else, and we're yes. completely shifting our focus, and therefore we're creating a different reality. Yes. And a different story, a different movie, right? Like, it's just creating yes. everything differently.
Right. The thoughts we think and the feelings we feel are literally creating our lives. And so it's up to us in those moments to pause and interrupt that pattern. Does it take us committing to ourselves and staying disciplined? Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes what is an underlying tone of that is this lack of worth. This lack because of the evidence that we have so far in our lives, especially, talking back about my client again, is that, for X amount of years in her mind, her story, and that's all we're living anyway, is that this person didn't appreciate her, didn't love her, didn't show up for her. So she has this, and to me, that goes back to our childhood, right? These stories we created, right? Because maybe our parents maybe they weren't able to show up, maybe they have different tools, maybe they didn't show us the love that we really wanted, right? And so, or really, really needed, not because they're bad people, right? But then we take that story with us. And so, for a while, I was for so long in my career, I was constantly creating, constantly putting things out there. And for a period of time, I just throttled back. And people would say, well, what are you working on now? Because usually I'm working on something. And my response to it is, I'm working on me right now. I'm my project right now. Because I recognize that there are certain things in my life where it's almost like I've gotten to this point in my life where I've seen certain results. And I'm ready to take it up a notch. But that is where, even when I'm working with my client, it's that moment of going, what if you took all of the energy you were putting in that area of your life, right? And you put it toward you. But that piece of knowing our worth and value might not even exist yet. We might even not see that we're worthy of that time. And so that's why the next thing that I would bring in is imagination. and imagining a life of the what if, what would it really look like? And when I say that, it's not having to know, you know, the house that you're going to move in precisely the job that you're going to create or anything. You might know. So first is by a picture, creating pictures in our mind, you know, whether it's that we see ourselves and we're having beautiful conversations with people we love. Maybe we're having an extraordinary, intimate, you know, sexual experience with our partner. Maybe we're feeling like we look good in our body and we feel lean and fit and beautiful and we're moving fluidly and strong, right? And so we see all these images and we see ourselves, you know, walking through our day. And then the next piece of that is it's the art of it, and that's bringing in the feeling. And so we imagine how we want to feel. You know, we see ourselves confidently moving through the world. We feel joyful and free and light, and we feel loved and supported and held. And so when we marry those two together and we give ourselves a little time each day just to stay in that beautiful ball of light of what you are creating, it starts to take us from the story of all that's not working, all of the old things that suck in our lives, all of these old catabolic feelings of not being enough, not having enough, and so on and so forth. And just for 3-5 minutes a day, you start to get used to these new feelings, these new anabolic, higher, joyful feelings, and we start to raise our own vibration. And then we start to get hooked on, oh, wait a minute, that feels good. That, I don't want to feel that anymore. And we start to tune ourselves to this higher frequency from a really playful, joyful place, and we just get more comfortable.
What I hear what you're saying is creating a safe space, right, in our feelings, where we feel all those feelings that, we don't feel good, you know, and just really carving the time during the day to just, creating that ball of joy, that safe space where we can just relax and give ourselves the permission to create those images also, because, I know that it doesn't always come like this, you know, it's a process that you, bit by bit, you actually give yourself the permission to think that way. Because when you've been thinking in a certain way for years, it's very difficult. I mean, for some people it comes like this, you know, and that's great. But for some other people, they're not allowing themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's that piece that what might be underlying tone of that is the not worth it. And it's so foreign. Like, that was literally the response when we first went through that with my client, that same client. Her first response was, it's foreign. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. It's foreign. It's not, you're not used to it. But what if you practiced a little bit every day and that started to be more comfortable for you? What kind of life would you be living? And then it opens up possibility, but we give ourselves permission to really just dream. And a way, what we're doing is we're acting as if. It's that I fake it till you make it, sure, but acting as if this is happening, because our mind, because we're mostly operating from a subconscious mind, but our mind does not know the difference from what's real and what's imagined. And there's so much power in that. And if we give ourselves permission to imagine, to dream, which most of us cut off as children when we were little, and we start to instill and strengthen that muscle inside of us, it gets a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger, where now it's like, oh, I want to dream. And it's, for some people, visualizing is going to be easy for them. For other people, feeling is going to be easy for them. And so we just kind of build these parts of ourselves again, and we look at them truly as muscles that haven't been used for a while, and you're just taking them to the gym every day.
I love this. I love this metaphor. I use it all the time as well, because I feel like it's so easy to imagine a muscle growing compared to imagining, you know, our mind growing. But I love how you say, bring it to the gym every day. Yes, I love that. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for this, Valerie. This is very valuable, and I love how you chunk it down in very practical steps, you know, and thank you so much for that. Where can we find more of your work?
So you can find me at vdacoaching.com. And that's the best place to reach me. You can also, of course, find me on Facebook at DAmbrosio.
And you have a free gift for us today.
I do. I have a special gift that's coming for you. It's a meditation to actually support you in finding that place of discovery and dreaming inside of your own self. It's just brief, but it's basically something that, and this is the other thing that, what I want to challenge you with is that what would it take for you to, for 1 week, commit to doing this meditation every day for yourself? What would it take for you to take this time for you every day and just to sit and imagine and dream the life that you really want to dream? And then what could your life be like if this became something inside of you that you really loved so much that it was a non-negotiable for you? So that would be my challenge to all of you that are watching.
Yeah, take that challenge, because it's simple and it can really change your life.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. Thank you again so much for being with us today, Valerie.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
And for you at home, what did you hear for yourself? Where can you, take those 3-5 minutes a day, or what would you dream about? What would you like to re-script in your life? So if you want to deepen your reflection, join me in the daily Make It Happen recap video, because you can make it happen. Thanks for being here. Ciao.